There is many interesting stories in the Philippine news this week, including an American who has been kidnapped, so let's get into it. First, jumping over to the Philippine Star, U.S. citizen kidnapped in Zamboanga del Norte. I'll put a map up here in a second so you can see where that's at. Unidentified armed men kidnapped an American on Thursday in Cebuco town in Zamboanga del Norte. The police confirmed yesterday. Brigadier Police Regional Office 9 director said armed men forced 26-year-old Elliot Onel Eastman into a waiting boat in Situtongwan Barangay Poblacion. And just for your information, Poblacion is the most popular name for barangays. Barangays are villages, the smaller political unit inside of towns and cities and provinces. While he initially resisted, he was unfortunately shot in the leg and later taken aboard a boat heading toward the high seas. He said all available security units in the region and the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao have been activated to address the incident, the first in 4 years. The units include those Philippine National Police, Philippine Marines, and the Armed Forces of the Philippines. I have found just a little bit more information I will present later in this video. In a statement, the U.S. Embassy in Manila said it is working with Philippine authorities on the reported kidnapping of its citizen. Investigations by police authorities are ongoing, but what is clear is that this is an isolated case. The PNP is working double time to identify the perpetrators, bring them to justice. The spokesperson said Eastman has been residing in Cebuco for 5 months after marrying a Muslim woman in the area. She added that Eastman has no known business in the area and that his profession and background are still being checked. For now, we don't have any communication from the group who took Eastman, and we have not established communication with the victim either. Regarding the request of any ransom, we have no details yet as to the medical condition of the victim. She said that before the incident, local police had been closely monitoring Eastman whenever he transferred locations with his wife. Doesn't say why they were closely monitoring. Perhaps because he is in a high-risk area, perhaps, or they're wondering why he's in that area. Some suspicion? We don't know. Didn't tell us. Jumping over to Google Maps, and so we got Luzon, the large Luzon Island up here. It actually goes down all the way down into this area down here, Luzon. And just as another comment, a lot of times the typhoons come in over here. A lot of times they go north occasionally. In fact, they maybe in the next month or next week or so, you may see one going across this area here. Typhoon may be just a storm, may turn into a larger typhoon. Anyway, you got the Visayas here, Panay Island, Negros Island, Dumaguete down here, Iloilo over here, Bacolod up here, the island of Cebu right here. Not sure what all these flags are here, but Bohol Island, and you got Samar Island, Leyte Island here, and the large island of Mindanao. And we just want to find out where this guy was. And he was kidnapped in Cebuco, the town right there, I believe. And they must take him over to a speedboat over here and headed out into the Sulu Sea, perhaps to one of these other islands that down in here. In this next article, Philippine Star, 7 dead in Maguindanao del Norte clan war, and you'll read about this somewhat regularly. There are tribes, there are clans, there are families who are feuding, just like the Hatfields and McCoys back there in Kentucky. Wasn't it Kentucky? I believe, and I think they finally made peace, at least to some degree. You kill one of ours, we're going to kill 2 of yours, kind of thing. And anyway, let's get down here. There are clan wars that could be over property, Could be overfishing rights. I'll show you an article here shortly. I think it was up in Don Bantayan or Bantayan Island up around there. A lot of fishing going on up there. A lot of fishing boats, larger fishing boats, and some people shot. I'm not sure of the details, but they shot at other fishermen saying, "This is our fishing area. You're not allowed to be in here." So they took out the guns and proceeded to enforce their territory on the sea, what they felt was their territory. Anyway, 7 members of 2 feuding families were killed in a dispute of gunfights in Barangay Marar in Bongo Island in Parang, Maguindanao del Norte, Friday morning, October 18th. The Agassi and Usman clans that figured in the hostilities are both identified with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. Mayor Ibe and Colonel Christopher Panapan separately told reporters on Saturday that 7 were killed in exchanges of gunfire on Friday between the two rivals groups locked in a deadly clan war that first erupted last September 4th. And occasionally you'll read about people have brought the two groups together, different groups, clans, and brought peace to those. Bongo Island, which has 7 beachfront barangays, is about 2.4 miles off mainland Parang, one of the 12 towns in Maguindanao del Norte. 4 were killed when the two clans, reportedly squabbling for control of territories, clashed in Tuca Marar last September 4th, causing displacement of hundreds of villagers. The next story, the BI, Bureau of Immigration, nabbed Korean gambling lord and Western sex offenders. 3 foreigners, including suspected sex offenders and a gambling lord, were nabbed in separate operations by Bureau of Immigration. The Korean, 42 years old, was arrested at a popular gaming hub in Barangay Tambo, Paranaque, on October 12th. Choi was charged for operating an illegal gambling website that catered to Korean customers who bet on the results of sports competitions. He's been on the BI's wanted list since 2019. Meanwhile, personnel from the agency's fugitive search unit caught Briton Ryan Ashley, 50, and American Joseph John Graham, 76, in separate operations on October 16th. Ashley was collared while trying to extend his tourist visa at the BI satellite office at a mall in Taguig City, while Graham was caught at the Clark International Airport. Ashley had been convicted in the United Kingdom of multiple sexual offenses, including indecent assault of minors in 1994 and 2002. On the other end, Graham, who apparently was a frequent traveler to the Philippines, faces 55 counts of child pornography in a court in Florida after he was found to be capturing, using his phone, nude photos of Filipino children as young as 3 years old. The next story, Kerwin supporter shot dead. It is election season here also, as in the U.S. And I know a number of years ago, I remember reading after the elections that they said it's been a fairly peaceful election season. Only 32 reported shooting deaths related to the election. Only 32. That was relatively moderate, I guess. A supporter of controversial mayoralty candidate Kerwin Espinosa was gunned down. Parangi. I'm not going to try to pronounce all this stuff because people comment say, "I wish you would learn how to pronounce Filipino words." The victim, identified as Melton Mayle Jr., was in a tricycle with his live-in partner when the 2 unidentified men on a motorcycle opened fire, and that's guns for hire. It's relatively common here. Politicians, prosecutors, somebody pissed somebody off, sometime, and they go hire two guys on a motorbike, one guy driving, the other guy with a gun, pull up beside, and takes care of that problem. Police say the gunman's motorcycle was found abandoned near the town cemetery. No other details. Mayall was identified by his townmates as one of the active supporters of Espinoza, who was previously tagged as a drug trafficker. Kerwin's father, former mayor, was also jailed over drug charges. The elder Espinoza was killed inside his detention cell in Bay City by police who were supposedly serving a search warrant. Some of you are big shellfish fans. I am not. I've never been a fan. Didn't grow up around those areas, and the taste, the texture, the smell, none of that appeals to me. But some of you would be interested in this shellfish ban. Why is that? It's called the red tide. Shellfish ban is being implemented in 8 areas in the country and happens once or twice a year, it seems, amid the presence of toxic red tide or paralytic shellfish poison. According to BFAR, the shellfish ban covers, there again, you can read through these. I'm not going to try to pronounce all these Filipino words. Shellfish collected and tested from these areas are still positive for paralytic shellfish poison or toxic red tide that is beyond the regulatory limit. All types of shellfish, Anacetus, SP, or alamang, gathered from these areas are not safe for human consumption. Fish, squids, shrimps, and crabs are safe for human consumption, provided they are fresh and washed thoroughly, and internal organs such as gills and intestines are removed before cooking, it added. And this is a very important article here. There are fixers selling fake documents all over the Philippines. Well, I can't say absolutely all over the Philippines, but it is widespread. Put it that way. So 4 charged, and this is in Manila, but I've been approached by a number of them over the years. I'm waiting out in an area, and there's over by J Center Mall several years ago, and the guy assumes there's some place, a medical clinic or two. There's LTO up inside the mall, land transportation, where you get your licenses and registrations, various things. And I was approached a couple times. I was waiting for my girlfriend to get some things done, I think. And a guy comes up to me and, yeah, what are you trying to get done? You know, I can help you get that done. And they're asking, of course, money. I never pursued it at all. But criminal charges were filed against 4 people, including a minor who were arrested for allegedly selling falsified documents. The operation was conducted following surveillance by the NBI Special Task Force. Santiago said the suspects were found to be offering fake documents such as NBI clearance, which is National Bureau of Investigation clearance, driver's license, mayor's permit, that would be for business, I think, medical certificates, police clearance, passports, transfer certificate of title, and even electric bills. NBI said the suspects demanded $500 to $1,500 for a fake NBI clearance and $5,000 for a passport, less than $100. There is a little good news, if you want to call it that, especially for foreigners who are using the U.S. dollar. The exchange rate for the peso to the U.S. dollar rate, October 18th, comes in at about 57.5. And it's been as high as 58, but it's dropped down into the 56 range recently. Anything above 50 makes me happy. When I came here August 2015, it was 48.5, and I've seen it go down 48, maybe just even a bit less than that. So it all adds up. It helps to compensate for the high inflation that we have, especially if we're buying imported foreign goods here, which the inflation rate is much higher than the stated inflation rate because of the customs and transportation, all that sort of thing. So it helps. It helps with compensating for inflation. And over here, if you want to check out UK pound, Hong Kong dollar, Switzerland dollar, Canadian dollar, they got UK. If you expand this, you can check out the UK information, many other currencies as well. Forex, there are many sites give that type of information. I just came across a little bit of updated information. American kidnapped in Zamboanga del Norte. So let's see what's going on. See if we get some additional information. Police says it has launched a search after a gunman reportedly abducted an American national who was shot in the leg as he tried to resist before being spirited away in a speedboat. Police in Cebuco tried to pursue the suspected abductors and their victim, who they identified as Elliot O'Neill Eastman, 26, from Vermont. After the reported abduction, we confirm that there was a report of the alleged abduction of American national. We want to assure the public that we are doing everything in our power to secure safe recovery. Police ask the public to immediately provide any information. Two police reports seen by the Associated Press said that a resident reported to police that four men in black clothing who were armed with M16 rifles and introduced themselves as police officers forcibly took Eastman, who tried to escape. One of the gunmen shot Eastman in the leg before dragging him into a speedboat, then fled by sea further south toward the provinces of Basilan or Sulu. The Philippines is set to hold midterm elections next year for more than 18,000 local and national posts. In the traditional volatile South, crimes including kidnappings have traditionally spiked as rogue politicians try to raise funds to fuel their campaigns. Rogue politicians, rogue has different meanings. In this case, I presume rogue means a new politician, somebody take over the spots presently held by another party member, I think. Because you're not rogue. Sometimes you can't help it, but you want to avoid it as much as possible, because in this water, floodwaters, that can happen when you have big rains, leptospirosis cases climb in September. And many years ago, I did some videos where I was walking through very deep floodwaters up to my knee. And several people warned me, you shouldn't be doing that, especially if you have any sores, cuts or sores, where the water can get in and infect. And it's basically from the feces, I believe the feces from rats and mice and such, that you can get infected from, that's in a lot of these dirty waters. On the heels of successive typhoons that hit the country in September, and they hit basically northern Luzon, had the biggest effect from all these rains. They reported an increase in number of leptospirosis cases. And over to CDN, which is Cebu Daily News, part of the Inquirer, I believe. Fishermen killed in strafing attack off coast of Madridejos. Didn't say that right, of course. Up Bantayan Island. A fisherman died in a strafing attack involving a fishing vessel in the seawater of Madridejos town, Bantayan Island, on Tuesday. It's on the north end. Bantayan Island is on the north end of Cebu Island, a popular destination for tourists, but also a big fishing area up there, a lot of fishing boats. According to the report from the police station, the sky blue fishing vessel with markings FBRJB was occupied by 6 individuals, names them. All of them residents of Barangay 9, Daan Banwa, Victoria City, Negros Occidental. So they're from a different island. De la Cruz died in the incident after sustaining gunshot wounds to various parts of his body. They were fishing in the waters near Tanguique Islet in Poblacion Madredijos when a motorized banca with markings Carlos on the front and Gigante on the rear suddenly approached them. The motorized banca was colored white and orange. The banca was manned by four suspects who were allegedly armed. As they drew closer, the suspects tied a rope from their banca to the fishing vessel. The suspects allegedly told the boat captain that they had encroached upon a 12-kilometer area under their control, and asked him to board their banca for a discussion. The boat captain refused and instead started the engine of his fishing vessel. As the vessel maneuvered and attempted to turn, the suspects suddenly fired at them with long caliber firearms. So anyway, I don't know if that is an unwritten rule up there or a written rule. I don't think it is a written rule, but occasionally there are fishermen who are caught by the Coast Guard for illegal fishing, but it's usually because they are either fishing in an area that is a marine sanctuary, or they're using a type of net or other types of fishing gear that is not allowed. The victim attempted to pull in their fishing net, but the suspects continued to fire, resulting in De La Cruz's immediate death. The fishing vessel eventually managed to escape and return to its origin over on Negros. I have not heard any updates on this story. You know, it is interesting in my 9 years in the Philippines, there are territories that are staked out by different individuals for different reasons. For instance, hobble hobble drivers, motorbike taxis in some areas, they will even have jackets, such and such hobble hobble club, biking club, and you might another a hobble hobble from a different area might bring somebody into generally their general area, but they are not allowed to pick anybody up out of their area. And I had a hobble hobble driver once tell me, I said, they're mad at me. I can't bring you into that area. They're mad at me. They must have probably caught him picking up somebody in their territory. I could probably go on for another hour about the various things happening in the Philippines and Southeast Asia. I get up in the morning. I usually read international news. I read the Philippine news, about four or more newspapers, looking for anything interesting, important. I check U.S. news and reports, see what's going on, and then go on about my day, whatever I have planned for the day. So I stay pretty busy. There are sources of information. I would not rely on places like Facebook. CNN. There is a CNN Philippines. There are a number of other Filipino channels. Some are in English. Some are in Filipino, Tagalog, and so unless you know Tagalog or Filipino, it can be a little difficult finding out what's going on, because a lot of times my girlfriend will come home and ask me, "Did you hear the story about such and such?" And yeah, I read about it last week or a few days ago, but she had a different impression of the story than what I did. So we'll discuss a little bit about the story. So, as you all know, it depends on where you get your source, and you should read many different types of sources, because if you're only listening to one, and I've been listening to a lot of the U.S. sources, for instance, over the last year, and boy, I tell you, it's brutal. It's intellectually painful, painful to listen and hear the biases in just about all of the U.S. news sources, and trying to wade through all the information and find out really what what the truth is. Probably someplace in between all those stories. Anyway, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.